Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Kaiju number 8, chapter 32, what is going on? Well, I feel like over the past 3 chapters, so much has went down in Kaiju number 8 that there's no pause, there's no break to be had. With the raid on Tachikawa base being unsuccessful and Kaiju number 10 being destroyed by the vice captain, the captain, and Shinomiya, the base is left in shambles, okay? Before Kaiju number 10 had died, he let off that super Yoju bomb, I believe it was called, that threatened the lives of everybody at the Defense Force base. Now, in the last chapter, with KAFKA seeing this, he sprung into action, he transformed into everybody, and where we left off last chapter, he was basically confronting the bomb at this point in his Kaiju form. So what this man KAFKA manages to do is absolutely insane by all stretch of the imagination. He springs into the air and uses this body modification that he can use that allows him to make these jets on his legs that allow for him to generate incredible feats of speed, right? As soon as I saw him do this, I thought, okay, this reminds me a lot of Ida's quirk from My Hero Academia, or if you're referencing Naruto, this reminds me a lot of Jugo's curse mark ability that allows him to just modify any part of his body and essentially use it as a weapon. He jumps into the air and with one punch manages to force the bomb back into the sky, which then causes it to detonate with how much force he generated. I mean, if you look at the panels in this chapter, him just building the energy alone manages to shatter the road underneath him. I believe it was the vice captain and Shinomiya and Ichikawa who felt the aftershock of just him building that power. So when he brings into the air and punches it, yeah, it sends it back, but it also detonates. And when I tell you how insane this explosion would have been if it had been allowed to make contact with the Defense Force base, yeah, nobody would have survived that. Nobody would have survived that at all. I honestly didn't even think KAFKA survived that in this chapter because after he lets off the explosion, he lands, but you know, he's basically dead center in the explosion shockwave. So when the dust settles and he clears and everything like that, and he's just standing there, I'm like, okay, this man's real. Like, KAFKA's the real deal. Like, I can't help but think that if KAFKA had just transformed from the beginning, he would have handled number 10 off of rip, because what it's seeming like, you know, with KAFKA having a fortitude of 9.3 and number 10 having a fortitude of 9.0 from the last point that we saw him, KAFKA tanking this explosion kind of sets up the dynamic that, okay, nobody with the fortitude that's higher loses to somebody with the fortitude that's lower. That's just kind of the feeling that I'm getting after reading this chapter. But pages 11 through 14, we see that with the destruction of Kaiju number 10, we're left with a few unanswered questions that I hope do get answered moving forward. Again, they don't know that KAFKA is Kaiju number 8, and with number 10 destroyed, his secret is safe for the time being. But that actually might not be the case because number 10 isn't really dead, right? He does make an appearance in this chapter. I believe it was page 9. If you look in the bottom panel, he's there. He's watching KAFKA take care of the bomb that he has descending upon the Defense Force base. Probably his thought was, okay, I'm gonna go out with the bomb, but that's not what happens, and you know, you get this surprise face that you see of him in the panel. So we don't really know if number 10 is truly dead or not, now that I talk about it, because he didn't go out with the bomb blast. Unless the shockwave killed him or he died of his wounds, number 10 might be alive. So if by chapter 33 we find out that he had managed to escape and report back to his superiors that they have a humanoid kaiju fighting along with them, this manga will actually go crazy in the future. I'm not gonna lie, okay? Because we still don't know why back in chapter 1 the kaiju who flew in KAFKA's mouth sought him specifically. Was it by mistake? Was there something about KAFKA that drew the kaiju to him? What was that kaiju anyway? Because when you look at really what's going on, like, KAFKA is in possession of the strongest humanoid kaiju that we've seen thus far. I know we've only seen 3, but I mean, my god, KAFKA just continues to power up and power up every single time. Now with KAFKA being captured, we really have to talk about what's the most likely scenario that's gonna go down with how the military is gonna go about dealing with KAFKA. Obviously, he is not gonna be eliminated, even though that would be the most likely scenario. Because again, like I've talked about in the past, they came across 3 humanoid kaijus at this point, Kaiju number 8, 9, and 10. It's entirely possible that the military thinks that KAFKA's the ringleader of all of this and was orchestrating everything, infiltrating the Defense Force unit and putting number 10 there to lead the Wyvern army, and number 9 was also a ploy in all of this. They are going to have a serious distrust of KAFKA and might not be willing to listen to anything that he has to say. The vice captain already has said it himself in this chapter that he allowed himself to be swayed by his charm a little bit too much, and that dropped his defenses from what we saw from, you know, how the vice captain really looked at KAFKA from the time he allowed him to join his platoon personally all the way up until the raid at Tachikawa base. He looks back on all of this in a flashback and he's like, yeah, I allowed myself to be fooled by him. So I don't think that, especially the vice captain, but I don't think the higher ups of the defense force base are really going to trust this man at all. But I do think they have a lot to gain by using KAFKA, right? I mentioned this in the last chapter. I have a link down in the description for y'all. But if they're able to make stronger defense force gear, right? Stronger defense force suits, weapons, guns, swords, katanas, all the nine. If they're able to make stronger all of that by studying KAFKA, because at this point he's the strongest Daikaiju in the entire series, they would waste an entire opportunity by simply eliminating him without studying him first. The man can regenerate, so it's not an issue about, you know, damaging the goods, but at the same time, there's a pain thing there, there's a humanity thing there. I cannot imagine Mina allowing the torture and experimentation of KAFKA, but it might be out of her hands at this point if we're really talking about it. KAFKA has a long road of repair ahead of him if we're talking his relationship with everybody, because now that his secret's out, everybody probably feels lied to, the vice captain especially. There is going to be a serious distrust that is going on amongst everybody. But ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have for you today. If you made it to the end, thank you. If you are new, go plus ultra and smash that subscribe button. It lets me know you rock with the content that I put out on this channel. Like the video if you like the video, dislike the video if you dislike the video, comment on the video your thoughts, all that fancy stuff. And like always, until next time, I'm out.
Losing B. Taking Alpha. All locations locked down. Losing C. Nice work, Black Ops.